Today we've got two stories we're going to talk about. One is a story of ta-ta, goodbye, to an old friend who is retiring after over 30 years in the position with the Conservation Commission. Francis Skalicky is here with us, and he's brought along Sarah Carnes, who is going to be his replacement. And we're going to talk about all things conservation and about his plans for the future, and get to know her a little better, and talk about things that are happening this fall and into the winter, and then some interesting anecdotes that he has dredged up out of the bottom of the barrel as he finishes his career. Oh yeah, blowing the dust off of it. Finishes his career with the Conservation Commission. So welcome both of you.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here. And welcome, Sarah. You know, it's really, I'm really fortunate. We're really fortunate that our jobs are able to overlap, because communicating what the Conservation Department does is it's a busy job. There's a lot to it. So I'm really glad that we were able to hire Sarah before I completely got out of here, so we were able to swap some knowledge, share some knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be here as well today.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Good to have you. As I told you, we're always interested in what's going on, and that this part of the state really, I think, is more interested than some other sections as far as conservation and taking care of our environment and being good husbands, good stewards of what it's like.
A line I've always used is that we here in Missouri, and especially here in Southwest Missouri, we get it. And by that I mean we understand why conservation is so important. I mean, yes, hunting and fishing is a huge thing here, but also just the hiking, the paddling, even the things like the nature center that is more focused on urban things like that we understand why our outdoor resources are so important. So from a communication standpoint, it makes your job a lot easier when the people who are you're spreading this message to already know why it's special.
Exactly, and the significance of little details that would escape some people.
Right.
That you realize are tremendously significant.
Right. And I'd like to think that over 30 years that yes, people have kind of gotten to know me, but it's not because of who I am, but it's because of who I represent, and that's the department. Mm-hmm. And that gets back to what I was saying, that they are really interested in the outdoors and our outdoor resources. So anybody who's talking about that, by association, they're interested in him too, mm-hmm. or her.
Yeah, exactly. So Sarah, what's your background? How did you end up here?
Yeah, so I grew up in Taney County, went to high school and college down there, and was really fortunate to start working in newspaper business as a journalist while I was still in college at the Branson Trail Lakes News. And then several years later was fortunate to join the Springfield News Leader as a reporter. Started off doing some trending topics, breaking news, and then when Wes Johnson retired, I took over the outdoors reporting and really fell in love with all things outdoors. I never grew up doing fishing too much. Anytime my family took us fishing, I would accidentally fall in because I really wanted to go swimming. And I started kayaking in college, or just after college, and really enjoyed that. But again, when I became an outdoors reporter, that's when I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much information out there to learn and get to know, and just really enjoyed it. And when Francis shared he was going to retire in the next few years, I was like, all right, going to keep my eye open for when that job pops up.
And I was going to say, Sarah, tell a little bit your kayaking mm-hmm. experience. You're more than just a random kayaker.
Yes. What you do. So I started off really not knowing what there was to know about kayaking. I was fortunate enough to know, okay, I need to bring a flotation device of some kind and not break glass on the water. But since then, I've really elevated and stepped up my kayaking. I actually just got my certification to be a level 2 kayaking instructor this year from the American Canoe Association, and I help lead a women's nonprofit that we are focused on paddling safety and fun. And so we do a lot of things in the outdoors, especially here in the Southwest region on James River and Lake Springfield and Fellows Lake as well.
Well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
A kayaker,
Yeah. See,
an adventurous person.
well, yes, and you know it's good that you know Sarah is you know has that outdoors background too, because so she can relate. But I do want to ask one story and or one question, and this goes back to your Branson. She went to college of the Ozarks, so I asked this of every college of the Ozarks students. What was your job at College of the Ozarks?
So I started out working at the Keeter Center, doing housekeeping, but then I knew pretty quickly I needed to get some more newspaper experience. So I very quickly realized, okay, if I can't get a job at the radio station, let me go work for the student newspaper. So I went and worked for the
Okay.
student newspaper 3.5 years.
And I realized, John, you asked the question, so
No,
I'm not
no,
gonna-
this is working out very well
Second
because
part of my
I'm over here. I've had a
interview.
couple of sips, had a couple of sips of my water, and just relaxed and checked my voicemail, and you know, just got things to do. Over
back
here.
to you, John.
So yeah, this is great. Now that you're retired, you come and fill in for me when
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
off because
Sure,
you're doing an
sure.
awesome job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this is great.
But no, you know, 30 years with the department, I do have to say that there have been times I kind of choked up just a little bit because it's hard to, you can't just walk away from something you've been doing 30 years and enjoyed for doing for 30 years and not just say, well, you know, that was then and this is now.
See,
So-
that's the thing that's always been great for me having you on, because it's always been obvious that you enjoy what you're doing.
Yes,
That
yes.
you're happy about it. You're happy with the results of what you've done.
Right, and you know, it's not the external part. What I said before, the people hearing this message are very interested, but the Missouri Department of Conservation is a great agency to work for. I mean, we are known as one of the best fish and game agencies in the country, and that's because we've got the conservation tax, which was passed in 1976, 1/8 and 1% sales tax. That's because we have a non-political conservation commission, which is also kind of unique, that oversees us,
Right.
you know, as opposed to being part of the governor's cabinet. And that's because we have the support, ongoing support of the people. I mean, those three things have made this from an internal standpoint and an external standpoint a very enjoyable job for 30 years.
That's awesome. That's great. How did you get into it?
Okay, well, I'll take you back to the dairy farming days in Bolivar.
Oh, okay.
I know, Robin, it's just an hour show, but no, yeah, I grew up on a dairy farm just south of Bolivar and graduated from Bolivar High School. Went to at Southwest Missouri State, which of course now is Missouri State. And my junior year, I started working at the News Leader, and that was actually when we had two newspapers. We
Right.
had morning and
Morning,
afternoon.
right.
And I worked in newspapers for 11 years. And the last couple years I was at the News Leader. I worked in Springfield, and I worked for Gannett Papers in Tennessee, in Nebraska and Tennessee. Came back here in 1989, worked through 1995, and then the last couple of 3 years I was an outdoors writer for the News Leader, like what Sarah was when she was there. And through that, I got to know people at the conservation department. And when the job came open, there was at that time there was two media specialists, one in Kansas City, one in St. Louis. They decided they wanted a media specialist in Springfield too. So, you know, I applied for the job and I got it, and I've been here
The
ever
rest is
since.
history.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
So, what else did you want to talk about?
Well, we had kind of talked about on the phone a little bit about some of the more interesting media stories that's come up in my 30 years as a media specialist. And you know, that's one thing with this job. You truly deal with, I mean, yes, you deal with the local media, but occasionally you deal with national media, and you deal with the normal, like why do the leaves are changing color, morels mushrooms coming up, or you deal with the little bit unusual, like bear wrestling and cockfighting. So
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
What?
That was really my first big media thing. It was in 1998, and Missouri had proposed. It was Proposition A. They proposed to outlaw cockfighting and bear wrestling.
Were these a problem at that time?
I don't know. I will say in advance, even after I tell this story, it will not make sense. And this is one of those things, me and my supervisor at the time, when we were talking about this, sometimes we would just actually break out laughing because this was so insane. But anyway, okay, it was Prop A to outlaw cockfighting and bear wrestling. And some point in the legislative conversation, there was kind of a little pushback. It's like, wait a minute, how can this affect hunting? And the reason given, again, Robin, doesn't make any sense at all, but it thought that perhaps the use of baiting, which was in the language of the bill, and just animals in general, might affect something like when legal hunting sports where dogs can pursue animals like coon hunting, even like quail hunting, waterfowl hunting, stuff like that. And I think there was a little bit of, there was a brief conversation about animal cruelty for a while. Yeah, how if this could affect hunting and fishing. So the proposition had to be rewritten so specific. It basically specifically said this does not affect hunting activities that are overseen by the Missouri Department of Conservation in the state of Missouri. And it passed, but while this conversation was going on, we got into the national news. And I don't think it was really the hunting and fishing side of it, but, and I'm not knocking anything, but we're finally getting around to outlawing cockfighting and bear wrestling in 1998.
Was this like a bear on bear wrestling, or was this like bear on person?
No, bear on person. See, I can't even talk about this without. But yeah, it was Proposition A in 1998.
And this was happening in the state of Missouri?
I don't know if it was happening. I really don't know the genesis of this Proposition A, but all I know is it came up and there was a pushback, and there was actually a little conversation that there may have been perhaps some proponents of cockfighting that was trying to work through legislators to muddy up the waters a little bit. But nevertheless, okay, that was a big media story for a hot moment. Cockfighting and bear wrestling, and does it involve hunting and a little bit of fishing? That passed, that moved on.
Okay.
Fast forward to 2018. We ended a 3-year investigation. We and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Missouri Department of Conservation, our conservation agents, and various agents from other state and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, multiple states, hundreds of game violations. It was they said it was one of the largest game busts of all time. And like I say, it was mostly deer. It was all poaching, killing deer out of season. I think there was some of it done in Canada. And there was 3 primary people involved. And yeah. And 3 of the suspects were tried to additional wildlife violations. Okay, it was in 11 Missouri counties, over 230 charges. 3 of the suspects were tied to additional wildlife violations in Kansas, Nebraska, and Canada. 2 suspects were tied to federal Lacey Act wildlife violations that took place in Kansas, Nebraska, and Canada. Anyway, the wrap-up of all this was the 3 people that were convicted in Missouri. One of them went to jail for a year, and as his sentence, the judge sentenced him to watch Bambi at least once a month throughout his jail sentence. And as soon as that part of the sentence came out, this made national news also. Now, that was not how sentencing works. This is kind of a Cliff Notes version. It's usually when a wildlife game violator is going to be sentenced, it's the conservation agent, it's the prosecuting attorney, and it's the judge. They kind of have a consensus on what the sentence should be. And according to what our folks, the judge was the one who threw in the Bambi thing on top of everything else. And as soon as that Bambi,
what are they doing with all this meat?
I have no idea. You'd have to talk to the conservation agent who was in charge of, who was involved with this. And there were several agents, but our Lawrence County agent, Andy Barnes, was one of the big ones who was involved with this because they were from that area. But anyway, as soon as this sentence hit, the Bambi thing, I got calls from all over the place. NBC News, CBS News, New York Times. In fact, I remember, the thing I remember is when the New York Times reporter called me. She was the most personable, conversational, friendly person. And I know we're kind of you think New York Times, just because they're in New York, don't mean they have to be stuffy and distant and everything. But that's what you can expect. But I mean, this person could have been just as easily from the Marshfield Mail or Bolivar Health Free Press. She was just a really friendly person. And of course, I didn't do this interview. I actually passed them on to Jeff City. But with each of these calls, I had to give the background, what was going on, and how we got to this, sentence and everything like that. So yeah, that was another thing that made national news. The Bambi violation. Do we have time for another one, Robin? Mm-hmm. Okay. This, and I know this is radio, but this, we're all looking at a picture of a spider web here. This was in 2020. Me and my wife were out walking at Lost Hill Park on a Saturday. Lost Hill Park is a city park on the north side of Springfield, where the old quarry is. Was there a quarry there, John?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. And I saw the spider webs. As we can see here in the studio, the sun was hitting it just right. Took a picture of it. Sat on my phone actually for a couple weeks, and then I sent it to the Missouri Department of Conservation website. They put it on the website, and somehow, this was about the size. It was a little larger than a dinner plate, probably, but there were some comments, that looks really big, and it just got picked up by everybody. And it was on my Google News feed, I know, on like a Friday. I sent it on a Wednesday. By Friday, it was on my Google News feed. Saturday, a lady called us from our church and said, "Hey, did Francis take a picture of a spider web?" And I said, "Yes." And he was just on CNN. That picture was on CNN. And
you can't imagine. I mean, the light's behind it,
right?
And it's a complete circle.
Yes,
an absolute circular spider web.
It's very
beautiful.
It's very intricate. It's very detailed. It's like I was one of the interviews I did on it. I mean, the real winner of this is a little spider on the north side of Springfield that spun this web, and I called it my World Wide Web because after the CNN, it was on CNN, and I was mentioned on CNN. I Googled it, and there was like Al Jazeera, and I mean all around the world were doing stories about this spider web. I got a email from somebody in London who was writing a book about spiders, and he wanted a higher resolution of this photo so he could use it for the cover of his book. And I wasn't taking nature photos. I was just out walking with my wife. And
did you capture a picture of the spider?
No. I think the spider was gone. This is just, again, I know this is radio, but as we can see, this is, 5 minutes earlier, 5 minutes later, probably I wouldn't have seen that. It was just the sun was hitting it just right. And I took a picture on my phone, and as my wife says, she was the one who actually pointed it out. So I've got to give my wife, once these stories got going, she would say, I was the one who first pointed out to you.
Light shining through the trees and everything.
So anyway, those off the top of my head, those are three big stories that, like I say, really got national, and in the case of the spiderweb, international news. That goes to show you that, you never know where, in these days of the internet, you never know where your stories end up.
No, you do not. We have Francis Skalicky and Sarah Carnes from the Conservation Commission with us, and we've let Francis talk himself out. He's done. He is just sitting over here, just with his head in his hands. He's worn completely down. So Sarah, it's up to you to finish out the show.
Oh, don't worry, he'll get his second wind.
What you've been at it how long now?
I'm in my third week, so I'm still very new.
What's your feeling so far?
Feeling excitement. I've met so many wonderful people so far. Thankfully, there's no quiz yet on their name and title and job description, but I'm sure that'll be coming at some point.
Yeah.
Get through my first 6
Names
months.
Their kids and all that stuff. Yeah, that'll all be.
Yeah, but
right around the corner.
It's been really wonderful. I've been able to do so many great things already. My second day, we went to an eagle release down in Berry County off of Table Rock Lake.
That's awesome.
Was amazing. It was the first time the conservation agent had been able to do a successful release as well, which was really emotional. He said most of the time those birds unfortunately perish because of their injuries or weakness or things, and so it was very
so sad that it's wonderful that the release worked, but it's so sad at the same time. About that time, one of the longest aged raptors in the raptor program at the zoo passed
Yes.
away.
Yes.
That eagle had been there for 30 plus years.
Phoenix was a very good ambassador. I mean,
Oh,
we
my
used Phoenix
goodness
at
gracious.
Eagle Days, and the zoo used
Yeah.
Phoenix
Just
numerous
a
times.
beautiful, beautiful
So,
bird,
yes.
and just so well mannered.
And I tell you what, I talked to Joey Powell that day, and I mean, understandably so. There were people who were choked up at the zoo
Oh,
about this.
no
This was
question.
an emotional thing.
No question. When Dale Tuttle had that, years and years ago, and they started that program to help with getting these birds that had been injured for whatever reason, and get them back into the wild if possible. This bird was like the poster child for that.
Well, and little known, I mean, I know the zoo knows this, but the Dickerson Park Zoo was one of the top raptor rehabilitation or eagle rehabilitators in the country.
Oh yeah.
And I think part of it was because not that many people did it, not that
Mm-hmm.
many places did it, but the Dickerson Park Zoo from early on, and that's why in the early 1980s that we partnered with them and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on an eagle reintroduction. But yeah, the Dickerson Park Zoo's history with eagles go way back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know I'm jumping on Sarah's time, so you
I told you that second wind was coming.
But yeah, it's amazing.
Yes.
Just amazing. And he was that eagle. Although we did find out one afternoon that it didn't like the lights in a TV studio.
Well, tell, don't you?
Yeah, don't just leave us
can't-
hanging.
No.
Okay, all right.
Let's just say that it scared the out of it whenever
Okay.
the lights came on.
Okay,
And
very
it was
good.
quite a mess that was on live TV.
Oh, there was also a really big mess in this conservation agent's truck.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
About to be released eagle.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
opened it up and was like, oops.
Oops.
Yeah, I
yeah.
think we're talking the same material.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah, it's
Can't
not
say it
like
on
a little
air.
drop like you get on your car.
Right.
This was a puddle.
Yes. Another great fact that I always like to pull out of my hat that I learned from being an outdoors reporter was that turkey vultures, when they get scared or startled, will projectile vomit. And I feel like that was my first love of, oh, you get to know those kinds of facts working for MDC? And from there, I was hooked.
So that's it. Projectile vomiting by turkey vulture.
Yes.
And I will say, yes, and I've told Sarah this too, I'll tell anybody this, that, it's the humorous things like that, and there's various other things about biology. I will still be in meetings 30 years, after I joined this outfit, and somebody will say something, and I'll turn, what did they just say? What did they say turkeys do? Or what did they say deer? I'd never heard that before. It's truly something, the more you learn about, the more you realize there is to learn. And that's
Okay.
what makes this job so great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'll stop cutting on Sarah's time.
Where's that shepherd's hook?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
That's right.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, because I was thinking, how did I really start to even know what MDC was? And way back when I first started being a journalist, I got to meet with John Miller at the Shepherd of the Hills Conservation Nature Center. And one of the things that always struck me that I didn't know about until I met with John were, wow, what's up with all those webs in the trees? I thought they were full of just giant spiders. And then one day he had me come down to the nature center and pulled one out of the tree and opened it up, and inside were just a bunch of worms, web worms. And that was the most exciting and thrilling thing.
To learn that it was webworms.
Yes,
And
and not scary spiders
Yeah.
that my imagination was telling me.
not spiders that flew their own planes into the trees. Okay, you can just make stuff up. That'd be perfect. Yeah, that'd be amazing. So you've got Francis for a few more weeks,
Yes, just a few more weeks.
and then what do you do?
Well, then he's on speed dial as he enjoys some well-deserved time off before his official retirement date. And he told me I can call him anytime. And thankfully, everyone here at the Springfield office and Jeff City, everywhere, they're all saying, "Oh, just call us anytime if you need anything." So I'm going to hold him to it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you built a pretty good base of knowing the people in the media and
I feel like I have. Obviously, there's been a lot of turnover because I did take a break from being a journalist for a few years. I was
Yeah.
doing social media down in Branson for Branson IMAX and their properties. But I've kept up with most everyone as far as I know, and very excited to meet all the
That's
newbies.
good.